Okay, hi. So I want to start a try a chapter vlog. I actually want to do a series of 4 of these, but today I'm in such a fantasy mood, so I want to do a fantasy romance one, and specifically fantasy romance standalones. So I'm going to take a look at what's on my shelves and what I have on my Kindle, and I'm going to come back to you with 3 books to try out. I have my Kindle, and okay, so I already have 2 picked out. I'm thinking, like I said, I want to do standalones because I don't want to start a series. So my Kindle is taking forever to turn on. Okay. So the first one I think I want to do is The Dark King by Gina L. Maxwell, because this is a standalone. And from what I know, this is about a girl who goes to Vegas, and then she meets a fairy because fairies from one of the courts, I think the night court, got banished, and they're living in Las Vegas. So she goes to Las Vegas and she drunkenly gets married to the king of the night court, and then she goes to leave Vegas and he starts dying because the fairies have a curse put on them that, or I don't know if it's a curse or if it's just like the way things are, but basically if a fairy gets married to another fairy, they have to be with them or they die. So she starts leaving and he starts dying. So then he's like, you must be fairy. And she's like, I'm not. So it sounds really good. Option 2 is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. This is a book I just got. And I want to start reading books that I buy like right after I buy them. So what I know about this is it's about a girl who's studying fairies, and she goes to this town to try to study them, and then her academic rival shows up, and I believe it is a romance between her and her rival, so enemies to lover. And I'm not sure, it doesn't really say if they, well, it does say that she's a human, it doesn't say, but it's implied that they're both humans, but maybe they're not really, I don't really know. Sounds good though. So this is an option. The third option is one that I have on my Kindle, and that is going to be Entreat Me by Grace Draven. So all I really know about this is it is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and it has really great reviews. I've never read anything by Grace Draven, and everyone says she's like the best fantasy romance writer, so I definitely want to give her books a try, and this one is a standalone. I had to look on her website because I wasn't sure, but it is indeed a standalone. This is the 3 books that I'm going to try the first chapter in, and then I will pick one of them and vlog how that goes. So I'm not going to start them today because I am reading a different book that I want to finish up first. After I finish up that book, I will read the first chapter of each of these, and I will let you know how the first chapter went, and then let you know which one I am picking. So I'll be back. Okay, so I just listened to the first chapter of Entreat Me by Grace Draven. I actually only listened to the prologue because the prologue was pretty long, and chapter 1 is like 35 minutes long. So I felt like the first prologue made more sense if we just want to try one chapter, because if I read the prologue and chapter 1, that's like a pretty decent amount into the book. So sticking to the prologue, and like I said, I'm listening to it. So I have it on audiobook. And I just enjoy listening to audiobooks while I read along. I feel like it just helps me get through books a little bit better. So I really enjoyed it. It opened with some type of royalty, like a king who, his son had just been born. And he has a wife who does not like him. And his wife is dying. And he realizes that the son that was just born, his heir, is not actually his son. And then he still claims the son as his own and as his heir. And as his wife is dying, her final words to him are basically that she just hates his guts, and she puts a curse on his precious heir. And King's like, I don't believe in curses. And then somebody else, I think it's kind of like his advisor, basically says that his wife had magic and that he should start believing in curses. So we get the feeling that that baby that was born is going to be the love interest for the story, and he has a curse on him because it is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. So I'm definitely intrigued so far. The writing, I'm liking. The narrator for the audiobook has a British accent, which is fine, but it does slow me down a little bit. Not sure if it's necessarily going to be my favorite right now, just because I feel like that book's a little bit maybe going to be slower and have more of like a high fantasy element, where I'm feeling more of like a fast-paced story right now. So I'm definitely liking it. We'll see if it's the favorite. I'm not sure right now. We still have 2 more to read. So I'll come back with my update for the other ones. Okay, I just read the first chapter of Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, and it's cute and it's fine, but it's definitely not the book I'm going to go with, because I already am feeling Intrigue Me more than this one. This book has very much cozy fantasy vibes already. It's about the book opens with Emily Wilde. She's going across the sea to study a type of fairy, and she's going to write a book about it. And she's traveling with her dog, which is really cute, across the sea. And then she gets to the little town, and she sees her cottage that she's renting, and she goes there. And then she meets the owner of the cottage and has a little conversation with him. And that's also finds out that the town folk aren't very fond of her being there. And that's basically all that happens in that first chapter. And there's just a lot of like lush descriptions, which I'm not in the mood for really. And it just seems like it's going to be a little bit of a slower paced read. And it's just not what I'm in the mood for right now. But I definitely think this is cute, and I definitely think there will be a time when I'm feeling this book. It's just not right now. So Intrigue Me is in the lead so far. I'm going to now pick up The Dark King, and we'll see how this first chapter goes, and then I will decide between the two. This book, let's see. That first chapter for Emily Wilde's was like maybe like 6 pages. The first line of this chapter is sex sells. This first chapter is 11 pages. So I'm going to read this and come back to you. Okay, so I just read the first chapter of The Dark King, and I'm definitely going to go with this one. It opens up with a male, and he is explaining that he's like the owner of a bunch of like strip clubs and hotels and casinos in Vegas. And then we see that he is thinking that somebody that works for him is stealing money from him, and also not treating some of his girls very nicely. So he confronts this man about this in his office, and the man says that he knows that he's a fairy, and he's going to tell everybody if he doesn't just turn a blind eye to this. And so the man that actually is a fairy kind of says that he's not a fairy to him in certain ways, and then punishes him basically. And then that's basically all that happens in this first chapter. But it was just very intriguing. I like the setup of it a lot. And it was already like high action and just more my speed right now. So I am definitely going to go for this. I'm definitely intrigued by like this Vegas setting with Faye. I think that's really interesting. And I'm just excited to see where this book goes. So I'm definitely going to continue on with this one. So this is the book we're going to vlog for this video. So I'm going to check in when I get probably like 20% in, and we'll talk about it again. So we're picking The Dark King by Gina Maxwell, and I'll check back in. Okay, so I just got back from bringing my daughter to pre-K, and I've been listening to it a little bit this morning. I've only gotten through like chapter 6, but so far we had the first chapter, which we met the king. So he's called like the King of Vegas. His name's Caden. We met him, and then we meet our girl, who is Bryn, and she wins a trip to Vegas to stay at one of his hotels. So she goes there, she ends up running into Caden, and they're instantly like pretty attracted to each other, and they end up spending the night together. And then where I'm at right now, they just woke up in the morning and realized that they got married, and they're both pissed off at each other. So Caden leaves the hotel room and basically tells her like, my people will be in touch with your people, we're gonna get a divorce. And he leaves. I know from the synopsis that once they aren't together anymore, he's going to start to die, because his people, he's part of the night court for Faye, And I don't think I explained this. They were like banished to Vegas because of something that happened between the courts. So the night court's banished, and they had a curse put on them that if they got married, if they were away from their wife or husband, they would die. And the reason why they did this curse was because it would make the king really vulnerable, the king and the queen both really vulnerable, and it would be easy to kill them if you just separated them. So there's that curse. So he's gonna end up starting to die. That's all in the back of the book. And we'll find out that Bryn is partially Fae or Fae and she just didn't know it. And yeah, so that's all in the back of the book. So I haven't gotten like anything new yet, but I'm really enjoying it so far. I think that it's really good. It was a little bit like insta lust or like smitten with each other when they first met each other, but now they're mad at each other. So we'll see how that goes. And then also the writing is fine. It's nothing great. I don't think. There's been just a couple like cheesy things. Like she compared his dancing to Channing Tatum. And I don't know. I just thought that was kind of cheesy. But there's just, other than that, it's been fine. And yeah, so I'm liking it so far. I'm going to keep reading and I will update you more when I get further into it. Okay, so I'm a little bit further into the book now. And like I said, Caden started to die when he left. So his brothers went and kind of tricked Bryn into coming to Caden's manor and basically locked her in there. And then he explains to her that like he's dying and she's staying there until they can figure out how to break the curse. And yeah, so far it's still going well. I'm still intrigued. There has been a BDSM element added in, which I'm not always the biggest fan of, so I'm interested to see how I feel about that aspect of it. Also, something that's interesting is Entreat Me was a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and this book, The Dark King, definitely has Beauty and the Beast vibes. She's even referring to him as the Beast, and like says she's gonna turn this beast back into a prince or whatever, because she wants to try to seduce him to get him to let her go. So yeah, so far I'm liking it. That is the update so far, and I'll keep updating you as I continue to read. So I am in my daughter's room getting ready for the day while she plays. Yeah. What? But this book. You want to talk?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Here.
No.
Say hi. Say hi. Say hi. Say hi. Say hi. Say I'm Penny. Anyways, I have been listening to it while I was like doing dishes this morning, and there's definitely like BDSM, which like I said isn't my thing. We had our first spicy scene on page. There's some off page before that. It was just kind of cringy. So, and I'm not really feeling their connection really. I like our main heroine a lot. Not in love with our hero, but yeah, just a little bit cringy, and I don't know. I would probably DNF it, honestly, at this point if I wasn't doing this video. But I really just can't see it getting more than a 3 stars. So that's the update. Hi, guys. I'm here to close out my final thoughts for this vlog. The lighting is terrible. It's been raining here for like a solid week. So, yeah. But anyways, I'm here to close out my final thoughts. I finished The Dark King 2 days ago now. So I've been just kind of like thinking on it. And I have very mixed feelings about this book. And I think I'm going to give it 3 stars. The beginning of the book, I feel like I didn't love so much. The second half got a little bit better. But to me, this book really did not read like a fantasy romance. And there wasn't very much fantasy in it until the very end. And it was a little disappointing to me because I feel like this setup for this book was so strong and intriguing, and I feel like there was like so much more that we could have done with it. I also figured out that I was wrong and it's not a standalone. There will be a second one, and we got a glimpse at who the next book will follow, so I feel like that is cool, but I was hoping to read a standalone, and I don't think I'll continue on with the next one. So some things that didn't work for me so much is it felt like in the beginning, Caden, so they had that night together where they really like were smitten with each other and whatever, and then they woke up married and he leaves and he's mad because of the curse and whatnot, and then he kidnaps her and keeps her at his house, and he really treats her like shit for a while into the book. And then, like I said, they introduce a BDSM aspect, which isn't really my thing, but it was fine. But she's talking about how much she trusts him and stuff during the spicy BDSM scene. And I'm just like, girl, why? Why do you trust him? He has been nothing but rude to you, and he's locking you in a house. Like, why do you trust him? I don't understand. That made no sense to me at all. So I really just didn't feel their connection. Not even a little bit. And then it did start to get better in the second half. We started to see more of them together. And like I said, the fantasy aspect was like so little that it felt like it wasn't even there until the very end. So that was a little disappointing just because I felt like the premise was so exciting. And yeah, overall, I did start to feel a little bit more of their chemistry and stuff. But in the beginning, I just didn't see it. And I wasn't really enjoying it until like probably 3/4 of the way through. So those are kind of my thoughts on it. I won't pick up the second one, I don't think. And it really felt like 50 Shades of Grey mixed with like a fantasy romance. And I didn't know that going in, but I should have, because there's a tag on the cover that says 50 Shades of Grey meets, what's it say? Neon Gods. So I should have known that. But yeah, so that's it for this tri-chapter vlog. Overall, a 3-star read, not bad. I can definitely see how people would really, really like this. If you like, you know, like a lighter fantasy, I think you would really like this. It's definitely more of an urban setting since it takes place in Las Vegas. And yeah, it definitely has an audience for it. I just don't typically love BDSM, and captive tropes can be hard for me too. They have to be done in like a particular way. Yeah, so that's all for me today. I thought this was fun and I want to do more of them in the future. So I was thinking maybe of doing a sports romance one next, or dark romance. But that's all for me today. I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.